Hey, exciting day. We're going to the old Simonds / Heller file factory for a little tour from a former employee. In 1917, the Rex File and Saw Company of Newcomerstown was destroyed by fire. Heller Brothers purchases the company and moves from Newark, New Jersey to Newcomerstown. In 1943, during World War II, employment peaked at 1,476 employees. In 1953, Heller Brothers moves fully to Newcomerstown and is one of the top 3 brands in the world. In 1955, Simonds acquires Heller Brothers, but continues to produce under the name Heller Tool Company. They are now number 2 in the world. 1960, Simonds produces all of its files in the Ohio plant. 1988, Simonds takes on new ownership and becomes Simonds Industries. 2006, production ends at the Newcomerstown plant and the company moves operations out of the country. We're here with Pat and Art for a little tour.
28,
That's a lot.
1978.
Is that when you got out of high school?
No, I got out in 71, worked truck stop, worked at Zimmer Lumber. So there used to be 2 boilers sitting right in there, plus 1 or 2 in the basement. Yeah, that's the acid pump line,
Okay.
and they'd bring it in with a hose and put it in from a truck and then pump it over to the pickle line. That's
Wow.
how they pickled the files before
Okay.
they hardened them, or after they hardened them, sorry. There's no oil can. Used to be hundreds of them around here.
So what was your job here, Art?
Oh, I had a bunch of them. I worked, when she closed down, I was in the testing room, catching the files as they come off a glass bead machine. And
What was this room for?
this is a hardening room. Here's one of the furnaces. They had molten lead in them. And you put the files down in that and it would heat them up. And you pull them out and stick them in a quench tank. And then jaws would clamp shut on them. And then you look down and straighten them. And there was a sharpening machine over there on that side. A big one.
What were these trenches for?
For the salt water and let's see. Yeah, it had been from the waste and this, well, right there was a little area where they set the racks of files on. I don't remember why. Yep, that's how we counted the files.
Is that right?
Yep. You'd weigh them and then you put them on, get the weight, and then there was 2 trays hanging there for hundreds and tens and ones, and you can put so many files in each one and it would tell you how many you had.
All right, now there were 2 floors here, right?
Yeah,
Where were the steps?
I think the steps might have went up right
Here?
in here.
Okay.
I'm not sure, it's either here or the next wall.
So this was wrapping to get ready for shipping?
Yeah. Well, actually, more of that up there was shipping.
Because you got the loading dock.
Yeah. Yeah.
over there.
Yeah, you go
And
out through there and come right out on the ramp. Grinding wheels would set in there on a set of axles. Then the beam would go up and there would be a line shaft. That's where a lot of the scrap went to. The line shafts and stuff like that that they could take down and take apart. And them stones were 5, 6 feet
Wow.
high.
Was that salt water too?
That was coolant.
That was cooling.
It looked like antifreeze running in the floor. Yeah, everywhere you see these things, there was a grinder set.
Uh-huh.
There was a big, what they called a gang edge over here. Was, they had grinding machine, cutting machines, and they would grind the edges of the file and then hand them over and the guys would cut the teeth on them. There used to be an old oak tree
It's still there.
with the file sticking
Yep.
out of it.
Yep.
Yep, the guys that stand here at break time, throw scrap blanks and try to stick them in that tree.
I wondered what that was about.
Yep.
Art, when you worked here now, on my map, there were a series of outbuildings along this
Yep.
edge.
Yep.
Where the rail was.
There were sheds, there was a salt shed that, they kept the, bags of salt in for the salt brine.
Because none of them are there now. They're all gone.
Yeah. There and there, those were saw file units, the 3 edged files.
Uh-huh, okay.
triangle Files.
Right?
They'd do one side, flip them all over, be like 40 in a plate.
Oh.
And they'd put them in there and they'd grind them on that big stone. And then they'd bring them out and set them and they'd flip them and move them over to the other grinder. And they'd do another pass and then over to the next one.
Cool. The building,
That's all timber.
Look at these beams up here.
Well, they used to have a conveyor, it went all the way out and down through the center. And they would bring the files in, or the blanks in huge bundles, like, I don't know, 12 foot long. And, they'd stack them in here. When they needed them out here at the shears, the steel guy would come out and pick out the right steel, bring it over and put it on the racks for them. And they had a electric conveyor that come all the way out through here and all the way down through there. And they go through that. That was one of the shears sat on that.
Where these holes are.
That would cut the files to length.
Okay. So basically, the operation started here and moved that direction towards the power building.
Yeah, this was the forging room. This is where they hammered the tangs.
What was the building out?
That was a drop forge.
Okay,
Drop forge and, machine shop.
okay.
They had the machine shop and die shop and the drop forge in that building.
Okay.
That's another one had a really nice floor upstairs.
I've noticed you find a lot of areas where you look out a window and you're looking at the building again. Just
Well,
like
there's separate buildings, you know.
they're all
That's,
disconnected.
if you look at them, if you need to come to my office, I've got an aerial view of it, and it's just separate buildings.
You know, the coffee machine was right around the corner there when I worked in the punch press.
Okay.
Yeah, this was all full of hammer. We would hammer the tangs on the files. We had die grinders in there for the punch press. And he would set up the machines. He'd grind the dies and set them into their blocks and then go put them in the machines. I'm wondering about my old punch press. It should be right in here. There was 8 foot of it in the ground. They poured concrete around it. It was too tall. It was too tall to set up in here, so they buried right there. Cause there's loader, automatic loader.
I was gonna say, what were these trenches for?
That was for scrap. There was punch machines along here for punching the tangs out. And the point. Set right in here and run them punch machines, and their scrap would go down a chute into there, and that was a conveyor.
Oh,
And at the end, it came up out of the floor and dumped into a hopper right there.
okay.
This was a 12-inch automatic, and that's all solid steel, 8 foot in the ground.
Wow.
They used to punch, that machine would punch 3,000 blanks an hour.
Wow.
But it was a problem keeping it running. I was lucky to get 12, 14,000 in a whole day. Roll straighteners right in here, croppers right here, tiny croppers, and then roll straighteners to run the files through. Here's another one of the automatic loaders. No, scales sat there.
Well, okay.
Yeah, we had a set of scales there that you could pull a big load of files in and set on it with the tow motor. It's hard to remember exactly how it was, but
It's weird because you saw it and you remember it when it was full.
yeah.
And it's empty now and it looks foreign.
Yeah, these were annealing ovens here. They'd rack the files up and put them in there and heat them up and soften them. There's a restroom right there. That door went to the restroom.
You know, I have a hard time. This place looks like it's been closed for so long. I have a hard time imagining it like just running, what, 14 years ago?
Well, they said during the war when they were making war materials, it had almost 2,000 people working here.
Yeah. The most that was working here when I started was about 400. Restroom's still intact. There's the sink. Yeah, this was a weld shop right here. That's where the guy did the welding. And over here was the maintenance area here and across there. And then stock room went from those beams to that wall and probably just out to these beams this way. It's just a big square, steel cage. Yeah, here's the electrical shop.
Okay.
That's where the, used to sit there, they had a table right there, I'd sit there and eat lunch with. Or you could go out there to the picnic table.
I remember guys sitting at the picnic table out here on their lunch break.
That's the place.
I'd be out riding my bike or something.
And right in there, that was electrical parts storage, and then there was like a little office.
How is the heat in here? Meaning, one with all the machines you had, did it get real hot?
In the summertime, it was sweltering in here. In the wintertime, it was cold. I remember when I first started here, they would take the files out of the annealing oven and go set them beside some of the guys that were working
Keep warm.
to keep them warm. Now, this was a stripping room.
Okay.
There was long machines here that had arms on them that went back and forth, and you put files in it, and it would actually file the blanks to make them flat for prepare them for cutting.
Well, what was this machine back here? It's
That
still,
was hang boring. Use steel shot to an air to blast the files, to clean them. Back lift, that right here. And you take the handful of files, rack them up, and the big end went here, and the tang went there. You just dropped them in, kept that full. Then that conveyor belt will come through and slide them one at a time, and they go through the machine, and it would, oh, that magnet was turner. It would turn them
Oh, okay.
and drop
Send
them on
back
this
through.
other conveyor. And then it come back up and did the other side, and then you would unload them over here.
Okay.
That's right. That was a good place to hide too, right? Now that room over there is the, a lot of it was storage, but right along here was grinders, and they would grind the edges on files to get them ready to put teeth on the edge. And then they also had cut machines up through here, and, see, that goes up to the chisel grinding area and back up to the front. Yeah. Then there was this little tunnel. I remember the first day I started here, they told me to go to punch press. I had no idea where a punch press was. They said down that hall. So I come down through here, and I thought, when I'm walking through there, this is a prison. Yeah, there was automatic loaders here, and big, just like pedestal grinders that you run the files across by hand. And there was a line shaft. Well, the brackets are still hanging there from it. The line shaft that run off a motor and powered all the machines down through there. They had fire doors on most of these. That one's still hanging there. Just keep rolling that chain, them windows that open up all the way down through there. Years, I think. Those were all cut machines. Chisel grinder was down the hallway on that used to be a break room right there.
Uh-huh.
And they took it over by engineering. They moved some of the engineering stuff down there and moved the break. Swiss was up in that corner. I worked in there. Made them wee little tiny files. And I worked over in this corner, which was the best place in the shop. You could throw the windows open and see the people coming in and out of the restaurant. Yell at them. I had people stop by and blow the horn. I'd stand there and talk to them. Yeah, all those holes are from automatic lifts to set in beside the roll straighteners where they'd feed the files in and straighten them.
Okay.
And then it would raise up as the conveyor shot them into it.
Wow.
Feel something.
Yeah, I mean, here's those hydrants.
I learned a lot today. Hope you did too. Thanks for watching.